Hello, Kimberly. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Very clearly and very loudly.
Oh, so sorry. Thank you.
How are you today, Kimberly? Are you
Yes,
nervous?
I'm fine. I'm actually excited about this session.
Are you nervous before presentation?
Um, yeah, just a little, but I am more of the excitement part.
We have just finished a presentation just 1 minute ago, and more participants are coming. So maybe
Mhm. Oh, hello. Good afternoon.
I think we can start now. Before
Okay,
you
thank you.
present the paper, I would like to introduce something to participants. So good afternoon, presenter and participants. Welcome to the VT Show International Convention 2000. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you so much for your participation and contribution to our convention success. I'm Queen, the moderator of the session today. I'm delighted to see all of you here, especially in this session. We do hope that all of you would be able to have some valuable knowledge and experience as takeaways following the talk. Before the presentation, there are a few considerations. In case you have any questions or concerns about the presentation, please feel free to leave them in the chat box or you can raise your questions here. And we have about 5 minutes for Q&A session. We warmly welcome Ms. Kimberly Andaya in this session, which is entitled Book 2, a systematic review on its advantages and activities towards language learners. About our presenter, Kimberly is an English language college instructor at Pangasinan State University, Lingayen campus, Philippines. She is currently taking her Master of Education in Literacy Development at the University of Luzon, Dubaban, Pangasinan. She's also carried units for Master of Arts in English, major in language teaching, and has taken Juris Doctor units in University of Pangasinan. She's a global high-performing alumnus in the Visual Methodology course Spring Batch 2020 sponsored by the U.S. Embassy through Open Professional English Network and is one of the book reviewers for the International Online Book Club. She aspired to become a language ambassador and a lawyer and a novelist. There's an echo. Please welcome Kimberly Andaya. So, Kimberly,
Yes.
we
Good
can
afternoon,
start the
everyone.
presentation now.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Ciao, Boiche. I hope I got that right. You can call me Miss Kim for this session. And thank you very much once again for that warm introduction and for this opportunity via TESOL Association. So, our topic for today will be about BookTube, a systematic review on its advantages and activities towards language learners. So, the inspiration for my research topic is my love for books and literature. I hope some of you may relate to this session. And of course, all of us know about YouTube, right? But I think neither of us know about BookTube. So, the digital world encompasses an array of platforms that engage people to participate in virtual communities. Now, these virtual communities promote the skillful use of communication tools as well as the seamless birth of information. And one of these platforms includes BookTube. Okay? Now, what is about this BookTube? Let me tell you about its background. It is a subset of the YouTube community that comprises channels discussing books and literature. It is a digital space used to encourage everyone to read books and commend particular books that are appealing to the masses by giving book reviews, book ratings, and personal feedback on any literary canon or recent written literary outputs. Now, the objectives of this research is, of course, it provides a review and analysis on BookTube from published researches and articles. It is addressed to the specific objectives below. First, determine the advantages of BookTube towards language learners indicated in the studies. And second, determine the activities of booktubers that contribute to language learning indicated in the studies. Now, you may wonder why the objectives are simple. To be honest, this research is the foundation of my ongoing researches now on the analysis of its effects or its application to the pedagogy I adopt. And since this topic is somehow new, this is what I presented. Such a good start, okay? So let me proceed to the design. Now, basically, the design of my research is a systematic review. The method that I used was descriptive qualitative, and the preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis or the Prisma model will be used incorporating the search strategy and the inclusion of databases. Now let's proceed to one of the most critical parts in the research. That is my methodology. Now for the methodology, the Prisma 2020 flow diagram, I used this for my identification, screening, and the inclusion of all the data that I have gathered. And qualitative content analysis was also incorporated in analyzing the data from the selected studies assessed from the Prisma model. The first process that I did was the manuscript selection process. Now, what were the databases that I used? I have used the Scopus and the Google Scholar. Now, in Scopus, the advanced search feature was used and the term booktube was put in. Now, with that, there were 12 research studies accessed. To locate a more relevant study, the search engine was limited to publication type, source type, and the language. With that, it produced only 4 studies left related. In Google Scholar, I used the same strategy. However, I have input the keywords advantages of BookTube to the search tab because in Google Scholar, it provides a vast citation, but it is deemed to be a superset of Scopus. That is according to TASER 2021. Now, this is for the purpose of discovering more relevant studies on the advantages of BookTube. The parameters of the studies were sorted into relevance, publication date from 2017, and limited to English language. So for the first search, there were 791 studies accessed. Now, when the parameters were set, there were a total of 43 results. Okay? The next stage is to set my criteria. We have the inclusion criteria and, of course, the exclusion criteria. So for the first criteria, it includes studies published in English, studies that involve both quantitative and qualitative analysis, exploratory analysis, and quasi-experimental setups. And of course, studies published from 2017. More specifically, I selected studies in which the advantages of BookTube was the focus, and I did not include studies that only mentioned or cited BookTube. Now, for my exclusion criteria, this is somehow broader, okay? I did not include studies that are not published in English, studies outside the time period given, studies that did not tackle BookTube and its learning advantages, And I also excluded review articles, editorials, books, and non empirical studies. Following all these criteria set, there was a total of 20 relevant and essential studies. So I hope that you are still there and listening to my session. Okay, we proceed to the third stage. We have the data coding and analysis process. Now, the data from the 20 relevant studies were analyzed. And then I used the software program Atlas.T7 for the organization of data. Now, these were analyzed using the qualitative content analysis that equips objective and systematic categorization of the qualitative data. And the open coding method was then utilized, in which I determine determinant words. Okay, identify determinant words to know the advantages of Booktube and its activities. Okay, now in coding, the results, findings, and discussion sections of the 20 studies are focused. These codes were then grouped and comprehensively categorized based on their similarities using the Atlas T7 software. And afterwards, they were rearranged into arising categories. Okay, you can see it here in this figure 2 from the Atlas T7 software program code manager. So for the first column, these are the emergent categories. So I uploaded the files in the software program, and then one of the features of the app was the open coding and qualitative content analysis. So what I did was to group these codes based on the two research objectives that were mentioned a while ago. So we have, for the middle column, we have the code group 1 and code group 2. And for the research questions, which were the objectives of this research. Okay. Now let's proceed to the fourth one, the fourth chapter. Okay. So we have the results and discussion. This is somehow a very comprehensive and it's really broad. Okay. So you can see it here, the distribution of emergent codes from the app that I use. So you can have it there. It's distributed in colors. We have 30 codes for the features of Booktube, 21 social space, 18 Booktubers activities, and so on and so forth. And we have one code for writing. Now to explicate this further, let's have it here. This figure comprises the outlines of quotations distributed through the arising codes. It is illustrated with colors that relate to the number of times the determinant words or concept-related words were highlighted across the selected studies during the analysis process. The figure shows a number of benefits from Booktube indicated in the various studies selected. Okay, let's answer the two questions or the objectives I set. First one, what are the advantages of Booktube indicated in the studies? Okay, if you remember the illustration a while ago, there were 7 categories that were created for the advantages of Booktube based on the empirical results of the studies selected and analyzed. First one, language learning. Second, learning tools, literature, pedagogy, reading, features of Booktube, and the writing. Now, these categories were divided into subcategories based on where the reported advantages fit. It is also noted that for each study, more than one code or subcategory was applicable for the advantages. Thus, it is possible that percentages can be more than 100%. Okay, so let's also check at this one. We have it illustrated in a pie chart, advantages of Booktube distributed with percentage. So you can see it there with the highest number of percentage, 33.7% under the features of Booktube. The next is about reading, okay? And the least is the writing, which has the least number of percentage, okay? Now, to explicate further the codes, let's have it this way, okay? For features of Booktube code, The following features, which are subsection of the website, the literary community, hosts or booktubers characteristics, themes, video mechanics, background, readings, layout, editing, and various book genres. These are the features of booktube that are deemed advantageous based on the relevant data or studies that were analyzed. The second code is language learning. It is highlighted that booktube provides benefits to language learners because of its influential characteristics of sharing ideas and concepts that encourage learners or participants to talk and communicate. This is according to Pochman and De Moraes 2020. For language learning, we also have collaborative learning, vocabulary build up, and peer sharing activities. These are elicited in BookTube. The next code is literature. BookTube supporting learners, reading activities, and recommending books that interest and inspire them. This is why I love this topic because I can be able to relate myself and it also promotes literature, apart from reading, of course. Now, for the third code, this is the part that I delved further with my recent research. BookTube as a learning tool. Okay? Learning tools are considered advantageous in facilitating the learner's language and cognitive development. These learning tools were identified were the BookTube videos cited by three researchers that served as tools for various purposes for holistic development. Those videos were used as learning tools. And that is what I did as well with my part 2 research. Okay? So the next code is about the pedagogy. Three studies were highlighted. They highlighted BookTube in developing new literacy skills that involves both social and collaborative competencies based on participatory culture and traditional and academic literacy. Okay? So it can also be implied from the data that the social networking platforms of BookTube currently available provides attractive, beneficial tools and authentic teaching and learning materials that will support learners' development and enhance teaching strategies. That's it for pedagogy. The next code we have reading. Now, in BookTube, reading is viewed in many perspectives. We have it as an influence. It is viewed as a recreation and relaxation. It is contextual and situational. At the same time, it is motivational and it provides experience and a social practice for our learners. BookTube offers tasks and writing fields to promote participation towards the participants about BookTube videos. Booktubers encourage their followers to partake in the comment sections, whatever discussions they wish to talk about. Okay? Now, that's it for research question number 1. Our 7 codes or the 7 advantages of BookTube. For research question number 2, what are the activities of booktubers that contribute to language learning stated in the studies? You can see there in this figure the percentage distribution of code group 2 from Atlas T7. So 53.8%, it is the social space activity. And 46.2%, the booktube activities, which will be specifically mentioned later. Okay, so let's proceed to that code, booktube activities. Okay, it can be noted that the leading booktube activities as highlighted by the results of 2 studies analyzed were the subcategories of number 1, knowledge transmission, and book clubs. Okay, so it can also be noted from the figure that the rest of the booktube activities depends upon the perspective, the style, and methods of booktubers and the videos they created. Okay, so for code social space, there were 3 studies, okay, that tackled booktube social space due to its purpose of building connection, and active booktube community. Now, the other researchers also produced various subcategories that entails booktube being brought out as big events that involve larger audience participation, such as book hauls, book launching, and book signing activities. Now, that's the conclusion for the second question or the second objective that I have set. Let's proceed to my main conclusion, okay? So, this study conducted a systematic review of the literature on the advantages of booktube towards language learners. The studies conducted about booktube began in 2017 in limited countries with relative objectives. However, since it is considered a part of digital literacy, it is recommended to conduct studies that will feature the educational opportunities of booktube and its challenges in the educational milieu of new normal. It is also recommended to develop further studies and signify the features of booktube identified in this review and its possible effects towards booktubers or subscribers. So generally, this review is limited to 20 studies, okay, that provides an outline of the advantages of booktube and its activities that facilitate language learning can be beneficial for future studies. It has been expressed that it offers an expansive opportunities in the context of pedagogy, reading, social interaction, and most importantly, towards learning development. So from here, it is perceived promisingly and favorably. Now, the limitations were the criteria that I set, okay? So if, for example, we include a different criteria, of course, it will produce a different result. Okay, so with this, I encourage everyone here to have a further research about booktube using a different criteria. So, to end this presentation, I'd like to remind everyone that the importance of this research will be added to your repertoire of preferences or topics you may want to research about. So, like what I did, I want to advocate researching more on this and measure its impact towards learning or education. So, that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your lively and interesting presentation. Honestly, I have two
Honestly,
questions.
two questions.
To me, I'm
Thank you so much,
totally
ma'am.
new to
Totally
BookTube.
new
I've never used
to
BookTube
and
in my
never used
teaching.
booktube in my
So
teaching.
can you just show us
You
the
can
web
just show
page
us
so
the
that
web
we
page
plan
that
the
we
activities
plans
at
and
the
the
web page?
activities at the web page.
That's the question.
That's a
The second question, you
second
mentioned
question.
many benefits
You
that we
mentioned
can get from BookTube, but actually they are so
Mhm.
vague. Can you just be more specific? I mean that can you just share with us that you ever got from your experience when you use BookTube in your language teaching? Thank you very
Ah,
much.
yes. Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah. During the pandemic, actually, I started using this booktube in my class, specifically in society and literature. So what I did was use this as a learning tool. So of course, we have the facilitation of a facilitative technical environment wherein I encourage my students to read about a particular literature, and after I discuss, like say for example, um, Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, just like that, or any other novels. After I discussed that, what I did was to use booktube activity as an assessment. That's it. For part one, I use it as an assessment. Like say, for example, they go over with the YouTube app and then search a particular booktuber that I know, of course, and then uh, they they will do it. They will be able to. They need to watch the booktubers' content about this the Telltale Heart, and after that, I have given them some guide questions, and this is also for the purpose of extending what they learned based on my discussion. And after that, another part or another somehow like a chance for my students to use booktube is when I encourage them to create like an active book community in YouTube. Okay, so this is where they will present all their ideas and have a discussion board there. Okay, in the whole booktube channel that they had made. So in that page or website, they will be able to coordinate with others, especially their classmates, and even share them, post the channel or whatever they're talking about in their Facebook app or in any other social media account that they have. So, in short, we can use it as an assessment. We can use it as somehow for us teachers to encourage teens specifically or our students to read more about something, because I actually teach college students. So what I did is to use this digital literacy for them to love reading just like that. Um, thank you so much for that question.
Hi, I'm Karen, who's also from the Philippines, and I am quite interested on your study because it's a booktube.
Mhm.
We actually currently have a reading program recently launched in our division schools. So it is revamped, a reading program for our elementary students. And I was actually curious if booktube could be of help in that reading program. Since you have mentioned only about language learning, what particular activity or skill could this be of help, the booktube? Thank you.
Okay, yes. Like what I had mentioned in my presentation a while ago, actually it covers all skills. If you're just going to get the gist of my presentation, it's just like you go over in the YouTube app, right? And then there is a portion there in the left side about this booktube. Okay, if you use your web, of course, or your laptop. Now, if you want to use this in your reading program, the skills that will be enhanced will, number one, it will pique their curiosity, right? Like what this booktuber is talking about regarding a topic, just like that. And apart from that, if you allow them or you encourage them to use their, their gadgets, their laptops or anything, the whole social media platforms, it will help them to participate in, the comment section, the basic when the basic page or portion there in the YouTube app when we usually watch something, right? It's just like a YouTube video. However, the content is just about books. So it's like if you know book talk as well in TikToks, just like that. They will be participating through sharing their ideas with what the booktuber is telling about, especially if the booktuber is having it via live stream, or they can just like participate through peer sharing, just like that, or even have this booktube content as a reference for anything that they want to like somehow research or read, just like that, or write about. So it's helpful with those tools. I mean, with those, it's helpful as a tool if we want to somehow enhance more of the reading skills or the writing skills through participating in the community that this booktube has. Thank you, Miss.
more questions? Okay, so thank you, Kimberly, for your wonderful presentation.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think there are no more questions for you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for your
Okay, thank you
participation.
so much, ma'am.
Thank you and goodbye,
Thank you
Kimberly.
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Vietnam.